The rain pounded against Althea's hood as she navigated the twisted, gnarled woods of Caen. She'd been tracking this location for days, her unnatural senses guiding her through the tangled undergrowth as if drawn by a siren's call. A morbid curiosity gripped her about the old abandoned cottage on the ley line. Rumors spoke of dark artifacts buried within its walls. Her never-born kin often shunned such relics, but they intrigued her. The allure was too great to resist, despite the dangers that came with meddling in mortal affairs. As she neared the decrepit building, an otherworldly light flickered through chipped wood and a charred black roof. Smoke curled skyward from gaping holes, staining the rain-washed air a sickly yellow hue. Unfamiliar magic hung heavy on the wind, something old and evil that made her stomach twist in knots of hunger. She gripped the rusted iron mace slung over her shoulder with an unnerving fondness. Althea's eyes glinted beneath the hood as she eyed the door, hanging precariously from one hinge like a macabre entrance to the underworld itself. With a fluid grace that belied her skeletal form, she stepped inside, the threshold groaning underfoot. The air reeked of decay and burnt wood. In the dim light cast by guttering flames, shadowy silhouettes danced upon walls lined with mildewed portraits of forgotten humans, faces contorted in suffering. Althea's gaze followed each one, recognizing them as the damned who had once called this place home before they met their maker. The door slammed shut behind her, and she locked it shut with a practiced hand. A strange, pulsating glow emanated from up ahead. Perhaps something useful was hidden within these ruins. A tangle of broken furniture and shattered glass littered the main room. The aftermath of a hasty departure or an attempt at cleansing? Althea's gaze swept the desecrated interior for any signs of what she sought. Relics of power. In the heart of the room, a blood-stained altar lay covered in strange artifacts. A crucifix broken and twisted to resemble the visage of the great devil himself, a mockery that drew her closer still. Something metal glittered amidst the gore. A small box on top, adorned with glyphs that whispered prohibited in ancient tongues. Inching forward, she found herself at the altar where a crimson stain covered most of its surface, and an overturned lantern spilled wax across it. Odd symbols marred the walls, but the thing in her mace pulsed, as if drawing energy from them, like those old stories of forgotten relics. The artifact's power stirred her hunger. Not quite bloodlust yet, but enough to keep her here till she had answers. She pocketed the box and a silver crucifix before noticing something else, a journal amidst the debris. Faded writing spoke of the Resurrection Engineers, an organization long dead, buried in their own hubris. Mentioned was an artifact capable of summoning any soul back from death, if one could contain the cost. The box pulsed harder now. If it wasn't cursed beyond measure, that might be a boon to her kind or burden. A rustling at the door made Althea turn and raise mace. One leg twisted, preparing for battle. Hinges of rusted wood shrieked as a hooded figure slumped into view, drenched to the bone and clutching a tattered backpack. Resemblant to her, yet far from kin, with flesh clinging to their ribcage and skull. This creature bore the wrong tattoos. Revenant? A rare, kindred spirit. She relaxed. Curiosity piqued. Speak before I bury your bones in this swamp. The mummified creature's sunken eyes took in her form, jaw unhinged as a ghastly grin spread across their skull. You are an abomination, too. Their voice was like the howling wind. Althea recognized the language, though never used it outside of whispers among the Neverborn. An ancient tongue. Leave now if you wish to walk free. The Revenant hesitated before collapsing onto the floor, shivering and speaking in fits between coughs. I have something that might interest you. Their hand rummaged through their pack and produced a wooden box, adorned with similar symbols to the altar. Her gaze widened. This was no relic for a mortal. A trade of sorts seemed inevitable. In a flash, they handed it over. Althea opened it, revealing an eerie blue glow, almost but not quite like her own kind's energies. The resurrection engineers. The Revenant spoke with labored breaths, left this behind and fled, said to bring back what was stolen from them. I am the sole survivor, my friend. Her grip on the mace tightened as their words trailed off into spasms of coughing. She sensed a lie, but curiosity won out over distrust. Survivor sounded suspiciously like someone who sought to claim the artifact for themselves. I'll spare your life if you help me uncover its purpose. The Revenant nodded, clearly too weak to flee, and she could use such an ally in this forsaken place. As they recovered on a crude bed of debris, Althea began deciphering arcane texts. Resurrection engineers had once sought forbidden power. This Covenant relic was said to bring back any soul from the underworld, for a price no living being should pay. A tale both captivating and terrifying. The mace pulsed faster at her touch as she pieced together the ritual. It required blood, not human, but something else. With each passing hour, the Revenant grew quieter and quieter. They'd either succumb to their illness or some trick of darkness had taken them. Althea hoped for the former, since she needed information more than the latter. The artifact pulsed in her hand as she read on. To awaken it would cost what they held most precious to her kind, a soul from beyond death's gate. She closed the journal, lost in thought. The Revenant stirred and whispered between coughs, "Resurrection. You're the wrong sex." Althea turned them over. A look of defiance flickered beneath sunken eyes before they spoke once more. "Please." Her hand tightened around the mace, as Althea leaned down to hear more than just those final words. A dying creature's plea was not one she'd deny, if it meant gaining an ally in this forsaken place. "Name yourself." "Captain Malum." They spat blood from a cracked mouth. "We'll part ways once I learn of that relic and its cost." The Revenant's gaze drifted. "You're the wrong sex, but you might be my only friend here?" It was more than an hour before they succumbed to a lung-ripping coughing fit, their life slipping away with every rattle of breath. With a deep shudder, Althea ended their suffering. They were dead now, leaving her little choice. As the last of life ebbed from their eyes, she knew what she'd do with Captain Malum's body. Once she deciphered the resurrection engineer's ritual, bury it among the never-born ruins far above ground level. A chill rain pounded against the cottage as she pored over more texts amidst flickering flames and the artifact's growing power. Althea could see glimpsed flashes of a larger conspiracy between factions here. Her own people, not part of it. They sought to use this thing for leverage, or perhaps something far worse than that. Control. If they succeeded, all outsiders might be pushed out of Malifaux entirely, and with them, her chance at freedom from the ley line. Her kind was already shunned, yet a Revenant using necromancy? It defied understanding. With each passing hour, Althea deciphered more, as she learned to harness its dark power. Blood smeared across her fingers in an attempt to match Captain Malum's tattoos with those of other Revenants she knew. The ritual required something from the very underworld, a soul that could be awakened within it, one that owed no allegiance, preferably with some connection to her. An idea formed and took root amidst the burning embers. In the first light of dawn, the storm passed as suddenly as it began, leaving behind an eerie quiet. She lifted Malum's mummified body into a pack and slung it over her shoulder, the Revenant's tattoos seemingly marking the way through a hidden entrance, down steep tunnels, deep beneath Cain. In the depths, she arrived at what must have been their crypt. Human bones surrounded by trinkets of a madman. A coffin bore an inscription, "For every life taken, take two." Her stomach churned as she pried open Captain Malum's sarcophagus. No corpse, but instead, an inky void within which drew her in, like the ley line itself. With one bony hand, Althea reached out and sank into its dark embrace. Eerie silence fell over Cain as she descended into the bowels of the earth alone, heart pounding and soul yearning for something long denied: freedom, beyond the cursed line binding them to this swamp. Her eyes adjusted in time to find herself standing over a simple wooden coffin adorned with, "For every life taken, take two." A revenant tattooed with an odd mix of revenant symbols stared back. They spoke their own language in death. They weren't the first to have fallen, but would be her last. Her gaze fell upon something far more important than their morbid tattoos. A coffin that looked like an open mouth, ready to swallow. In the tomb, she found Captain Malum's body with a sword by its side. Not wood or metal, but a cold mass of shadow and lightning. The Revenant's final act in life. Her mind drifted to the artifact. Sensing she now held the key, the coffin's lid creaked open with a groan. An iron mace hung over a blackened heart. Beneath that, a pulsating orb of blue-green energy pulsed like an erratic heartbeat as the Revenant tattooed body rose. Althea clutched it, and they stood before her. Kugan. The undead's laughter was like a cold wind, and a crack in the night sky combined. "They took my kind. I want my chance at vengeance." A cruel smile split their face as they eyed the box with curiosity. "You will carry me into battle." Their gaze flickered between her mace, Malum's blade, and the artifact. "We have what we need, Kugan. Now let me go." The Revenant demanded before dying in her arms. A Revenant who wanted to die but had no life to take for payment. A chance at freedom hung before her like an unspoken deal with the underworld. She buried them beside Captain Malum and departed Khan's depths, leaving the storm behind as she set foot upon overgrown ruins atop the hill, overlooking the swamp's fetid waters. The artifact pulsed in her hand, promising so much. The mace, once dormant since coming into her possession, hummed with a new power. It felt alive under her touch, yet seemed cursed and alluring, drawing blood from a wound at her side. A strange tattoo materialized on her chest. Kugan's mark. The first of many she hoped to wear one day. In the distance, a rusted carriage rattled by. Its driver, another Revenant with their own unique tattoos. They eyed each other beneath the hood, and settled in like kindred spirits from Cain or death itself had brought them together. The driver removed his hat. "You're not as disgusting as I feared." A joke that fell flat between the two. He nodded for her to enter. The carriage took Althea closer to a distant town, its very architecture a twisted mockery of man's world. In a seedy tavern, whispers were all she could gather from the townsfolk. Abominations fleeing Malifaux as if the line read with blood while in Cain. Strange artifacts surfaced and Revenants vanished in great numbers. The driver slid out of their seat once more. Another tattooed outsider to carry into the city. If anyone could help decipher these symbols or control the artifact, it was the cabalists, rumored masters of forbidden lore. They reached the town outskirts, driving over a bridge spanning a rickety riverbed that flowed with an unnatural sludge. Resurrection, etched into the sign above a local shop's door, caught her gaze. Curiosity burning to see it out. As if sensing it, Kugan took off his hat and bowed in respect of their Revenant brethren, before entering uninvited. In this strange town, two factions fought over the artifact. Her mind spun as she approached. Humans against a cabalist-possessed crew. A plague-ridden undead horde had taken over Khan. A woman's voice was heard amidst the din. "You're either with them or us, and I'm not in the mood to discuss it." The door slammed behind her before Althea could turn, as if the cabalists knew she'd found this relic. The blood mire flowed out of their tavern like an open wound. As a lone figure emerged, eyes glinted with a malevolent light beneath the hood. Revenant tattoos across her exposed skin, and Kugan drove away into the gathering night, leaving Althea to be confronted by a cabalist. She'd chosen when they took the artifact, before any outsider's arrival in this war. "You're a curiosity." A hooded figure spoke, eyes glowing with an unnatural light, amidst the blood-soaked room where both groups clashed. "I'm Kugan. You have no home here now, but I can offer one." The Revenant smiled, offering his pack and hand, a lifeline amidst carnage. Althea took it, wondering how she'd find herself entangled with this outsider war, in a way that seemed inevitable. The mace pulsed harder than ever before, sensing she was far from the first and last to be ensnared by Kane's conflict. Moi, too. An assassin stood atop the bridge. She eyed the cabalist's blade. I'd say your people won. No blood was spilled as night fell across the swamp of Kane. An uneasy peace forged on that crimson floor. Outside, Kugan suggested their Revenant form be a ruse to infiltrate the factions and learn from both sides, his tattooed skin a reminder she wasn't alone in this strange place. Your friend? Her hood nodded as he offered her seat. I was before you found your own way. The blade leaned against a doorframe, her mace upon their lap. In time, Kugan's laughter mingled with the wind and blood-tinged rain as they set off towards her unknown future in Malifaux. What tale would these outsiders weave for Althea?